Greg, what's up, dude?
Hey!
My guest today on the podcast, Greg Zorn. Yo!
Hi, guys.
Dude, I'm so stoked to talk to you again.
Again.
Yeah,
That's all good.
I won't, I'm not going to hide my mistakes. We tried to do this. We did this. We had a great podcast, but the video didn't come out. So we got to do it again.
Yeah, it was fun, though. At least, well, with the laptop, I won't have as much fun and cool things to show you guys.
I know. That's why I was so bummed, is because you were like walking around your shop, showing us your working spaces, showing us all the projects you're working on. And I bummed it, dude. I didn't get any of it.
Nah, it's all good. It was a lot of fun. Whichever way, it was fun talking.
Yeah, dude. So everyone listening, I got Greg Zorn on the podcast of CKW2, legendary Volkswagen builder, company owner, family man, all the things.
Yep.
So I'm just going to start with the easy question. What got you started off in Volkswagens, man?
Well, so it was, I guess, when I was 13 years old, my mom caught me doing something I shouldn't have been doing. And my punishment is I had to go spend 2 weeks with my dad. And during that 2 weeks, he said, I'm going to teach you how to drive. So I'm like, oh, okay. He had a 1982 Rabbit diesel four-door. So we drove around the block in Cleveland and all that stuff and learned how to drive. And, pretty much right after that, I drove, we went back home and there's a little black car sitting there in the parking lot of the apartment complex. And I look and I'm like, man, that looks just like my dad's car, but it's really cool looking. So sure enough, it turned out to be an 84 Rabbit GTI. It took me about a year to convince the guy to sell it to me, and then almost like a year and a half. So I was 15 when I bought the car. Didn't even have my license or anything yet. So it sat around for a couple years, but I worked on it and drove it illegally and stuff. But yeah, I mean, ultimately that's what started it. I mean, I was born in Budapest, so for me, European cars are, I can just relate. I can relate to the ideology and what they're doing with it as far as putting it together and taking it apart. I kind of understand it, but I don't know. Sometimes I don't understand what the hell they're doing.
I feel like that every time I work on a Volkswagen, any car for that matter. I'm like, why'd they put this here, not here, or this and that? But I'm not an engineer. I don't engineer things, so they probably have good reasons.
Who's the guy that figured this out? What the fuck, you piece of shit?
Yeah.
They usually end up screaming like that quite a few times.
That's me just trying to change like the wiper blades.
Yeah, right.
I'm joking.
Taking wiper arms off, that's always a fun one too.
Yeah, you gotta kind of muscle it off there.
Yeah, it's not fun. They never want to come off. So
no, they don't, dude.
Yeah.
The first car you ever drove or learned how to drive in was a Mark I Rabbit diesel. And then the first car you bought was a Mark I GTI. And you've just been hooked ever since. Is it particularly the Mark I's? I know you own a bunch of other stuff, but is that like your go-to?
I would have to say I love the Mark I's. Pretty much any of the boxy ones. So all the way up to the 3s, I'm really a fan, except for Passats. I don't know.
Nobody likes Passats.
No, I mean, Passats are cool. Don't get me wrong. I didn't like the fact, I was still young, so I didn't quite understand. But when you walked in, you said, yeah, I need an alternator for a Passat. And then be like, cha-ching. And you're like, fuck, are you kidding me? And then you come to find out it's all the same part numbers that might have been in a Golf.
I need that same one for a GTI. Yeah.
What's that?
I need that same alternator only for a Golf.
Right, exactly. So next thing you know, you're paying top dollar for something because you said the word Passat. So I don't know. But even that, it's still an attractive car. You'll never see me own another one again. The B3s. But yeah, I mean, I like the Mark IIIs a lot too. It's like they finally got with the times when Mark IIIs came up as far as creature comforts and having cool things as opposed to the Mark IIs. Granted, later on in the Mark IIs they had it too, but the Mark III was just revamped. So, but But the Rabbits, yeah, it's always been my love. I mean, it's my first car, so I've always loved it.
That's so rad. And that's the same GTI you have today, right? The
Yeah,
PBW feature one.
yeah, it
Oh
is.
man.
So we've been together almost 26 years now, 24 years, something like that. I don't know. It's been a long time. I mean,
Wow.
I bought that car in 1994, 95. So,
How much did you buy
yeah,
that car for?
$800.
$800. I'd say you got
I
your
know.
money
So it
worth.
was, I mean, if you think about the dollar amount, right? You got to think what you would buy a 10-year-old car for now. So, I
Right.
mean, the car, I mean, literally, it bought it in 94 and it was an 84. So, it's pretty good for $800 if you think about it. And like that was a pretty good. I got it for a steal back then, but you know, 3 years later, 4 years later, it had no more floorboards, so they started going. So that was bad. That was a lot of work in its own. But yeah, I mean, it took I think 3 rebuilds total to where it is now.
Wow.
So, and the last build was 9.5 years it took. So it took me a long time to get it done, but life happens, you know. I mean, had to get my own place, live on my own. You know, I mean, it was just growing up. So in the meantime, I always held on to it. It always sat either in a storage unit or at a buddy's shop. That video I sent you today, that's what that one video, that was when I first put the motor in, welded the cage, and did the floorboards and stuff. And then from there, it took another couple more years to save up money to get a paint job and all of that. So,
Man,
yeah.
dude, this thing's been a labor of love. Yeah, I watched those videos. It's pretty awesome to see, and just to look at the car now and realize that was like your first car, and you still have it, and you've built
Yep.
it essentially 3 times to get it where it
Yeah,
is
it's
today.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, it kept rebuilding it, and I mean, I remember when I was younger, you know, I kept telling myself, I'm like, well, the story kind of goes like this. I opened up a PVW for the first time in my life, and I would have to say I was probably like 18 years old, and that's when Adam Hurt, Fat Man, and Ryan Kanya, and Scotty Blanchek, or Scotty B, as we all know him on Facebook. I used to call him all the old schooler, you know, high roller kind of dudes. They all had Mark III VR6s, and Mark Richmond had a Mark II 16 valve GTI, and then he ended up getting a Mark III as well with big 18-inch Kinesis. I mean, they were just
Yeah.
beautiful cars. And meanwhile, I have my Rabbit, you know, that just looks old, right? You know, because so I opened up the magazine and there's a peach one with a clipper kit, and I was like, man, I can't believe it. That's my car. Like that's literally my Rabbit, but it looks good. Oh, okay. And that's where the dream began. So from there, it was, I'm going to lower it. I'm going to put a cage in it. I'm going to put this bumper on. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And man, it took forever. But that's where it all started. And then just stuck with it. You know, the first time got it repainted and then repainted again. Then I got in an accident with it. And then I fixed it again. And then the whole G60T was born where, all right, I'm
Yeah.
going to put a turbo in it and have it G60 turbo and make it go fast. So kind of regret that decision now because it's too fast.
Too fast.
Yeah, it's too much. It's a white knuckle car.
Mm.
It's you know we're 320 to the wheels, and it just I don't know. It's just too much. Took the drivability away from the car. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't know. It's not. How should I say it? It's not as enjoyable tucking into the turns. It's just too much power.
Mm.
You know, and you can easily misjudge how fast you're going and then torquing out of it. And then if you spool up too much, then it wants to linger off to the other side of the road, even with that quaif in there. I don't know. It's fun. Don't get me wrong. I do have fun with it. It's just, it's not the same car,
That's a lot of
you know?
power in a little Mark One.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I don't know, but that's kind of where the dream began. Opening up my first PVW is like, my wife says it's a good analogy would be where, you know, your mom used to get Victoria's Secrets catalogs back in the day, and you'd open it up and you're like,
Yeah,
oh my God.
boobies.
It was literally the
Movies.
same thing. I'm like, whoa, oh my God. It was
Yeah.
like lingerie,
Yeah, no,
but a car.
I felt the same way when I opened my first PVW. I think I was like rummaging through like a Barnes and Noble or something, and I went to their automotive section. And I got into Volkswagen. I've been in Volkswagens my whole life. My grandfather owned an air cooled shop, so I was like the little kid running around my grandfather's air cooled shop, getting yelled at like, "Get out of the cars," you know. But I've always had like a liking for the water cooled stuff for some reason. I know the
Uh-huh.
reason. But I remember picking up my first PVW and like looking inside of it and being like, "Oh my god!" I had a clapped out Mark III Jetta at the time, and I hated it. And I think it ruined Jettas for me. I'm gonna get shirts made
Aw.
that say I hate Jettas on it, just to be funny about it. But yeah, going in there and like just seeing all the crazy builds, it's same thing. It motivated me. I wanted to do so much to that Jetta. Never did any of it, but it was like, something that kind of hooked me too. Seeing all those crazy builds, you kind of
Right.
took
It
it.
makes the brain work,
Yeah.
you know?
Well,
So,
it kind of opened my eyes to what was possible with those cars, right?
hmm
Because when I got into it, like probably like '02, '03 is when I started really getting into the Volkswagen scene or culture, whatever you want to call it. And there was still like a lot of the Fast and the Furious shit going on. You know
yeah,
what I
they still
mean?
didn't graduate yet. They
Yeah.
didn't they didn't graduate yet.
Well,
I don't know what you call it, graduate.
in all like the U.S. mags and all this and stuff like that, everything was all like Fast and the Furious kind of shit. But if
Yeah,
you picked up a
yeah.
PVW, that's where the actual like legit Volkswagens were. They were in the
Right.
PVWs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had like the
hmm
Euro looks. Everything was like guys were shaving stuff. People were slamming stuff.
It was still very Fast and Furious-y though too. You know, I mean, some of it. Well, it also depended on what country. Like the French,
Yeah.
what was it? I think the French weren't allowed to soup up the car, but they always had the crazy sounds that they were allowed. Like they'd have crazy systems and crazy interiors, but it wasn't. It was just a stock car. So
Yeah.
because of their emissions.
I feel like
Yeah,
you remember VW scene? There's like VW scene and there was PVW. And
yeah,
VW scene had all like the bling builds. It had
hmm
like all the chrome and the bling wheels and like all that gnarly shit. And then I think PVW had like the cleaner cars. You know what I mean? They weren't like over the top. They were more subtle, but everything was like more cleaner. That's just how I always felt.
I know it's amazing to watch things graduate through. So, even when you were saying the Mark III, it it in '02 they're not what they are now.
Yeah.
They've definitely graduated, or I should say matured to where they are now. And same with the Mark One, the twos, the threes. The Mark One is literally the new Beetle. So everything is just astronomically priced.
Yeah.
Um,
I have two of them. Tell
Mark
me
II,
about it.
same thing. You
Hmm.
want a good chassis now that you want to work off of, you're looking at 5 to 10K.
Yeah.
So
And good luck.
it's crazy. I'm happy I jumped back into a Mark III now though, because it's collecting and realizing what some of the prices are for some of the things. You're like, wow, okay. I remember my finger used to hover over the buy it now option for the ZWK fog lights for a Mark III.
Mm.
I used to hover over them all the time. You're like, oh, I'm gonna buy them. I'm gonna buy them. And I'm like, I really can't afford it right now. I shouldn't buy it. I never did. And it was like I think $160, but you
Yeah.
could buy the cheap ones for like $30, and now they're $300.
Hmm. I
So
know.
yeah, everything's moving up, and it's moving at a very fast pace, which is crazy. But I guess you could thank social media and the internet for that. So
It is super
yeah.
crazy. I had a Mark III Windsor VR. I kind of saved this time last year, and I got into Mark III. I've had Mark ones mostly. I'm huge into Mark ones, so I've had a ton of Mark ones, and I hadn't owned a Mark III since the first Jetta that I got. Had a chance, got a Windsor VR, and I used to go through all the websites and just see a bunch of shit for them. Whatever you wanted, BFI, you name it. You can, boom, build a cart and buy the stuff. Not so much anymore, dude. It was like hard finding all the stuff that I wanted for that thing. I was like, dude, and not only is the stuff getting harder to find, you also have to have money for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
It's like, dude, I'm going to sink so much money into this Mark III and never see that stuff back. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's another weird thing where Mark IIIs are at too. It's because like the scarcity of all the cool stuff that you want is like a premium, but when you like build it out, it's hard to sell. Like no one wants to pay. Like, you know, I've seen full show build Mark IIIs out there that people are asking 15 grand for, totally worth 15 grand. And they're getting flamed for posting what the car should be worth with all the stuff that's on it. It's like, dude, you couldn't paint this car, put the suspension on it, find all the rare parts that are on it for 15 grand. And good luck. You know, it's going to take you years to get all the stuff to, you know, it's just this weird spot. I think Mark 1s and Mark 2s, I don't know. Mark 2s are a little weird. Mark 2s, like, people want Mark 2s, like, especially clean big bumper Mark 2s. They'll pay money for that.
All of them. I mean, Mark IIs are getting to that point where to find a good rolling chassis to work on, where you're not welding floors, you're not welding you know, and completely ground up restore. You know, you're looking at, like I said, $5,000 to $10,000 for a decent rolling chassis drivable car that, you know, needs a little bit of love. I mean, even I guess I should have known buying my cousin David's car back, because I have two Mark IIIs right now, two Mark III Jettas. I have a 98 VR, and then I have a GLS 97. Granted, I wanted a 98. So either way, I bought my cousin David's car. I helped him buy that car in like 04, 05. It was his first car because he, you know, I pretty much turned him on to VW, and hence why he's working at APR and all that stuff. I mean, he's just, you know, he really lived up to it and loves the whole aspect of fast and the parts and just the logic behind it. He's an engineer, so
nice.
But he told me, hey, well, just buy my old car back. And I'm like, all right, well, yeah, I remember this car. I did the Corrado spoiler on it. You know, I did all kinds of stuff to that car way back in 05. I mean, I helped him lower it and all kinds of crazy stuff. And I mean, he obviously used and abused the car, but I was like, well, you know what? This is sentimental. We'll bring it back into the family. $500. Okay, cool. Get the car, no floors. Rockers gone. I'm like, oh, God. My buddy Wes, he's an old timer. He was looking at me like, Greg, are you sure you want to spend another 2 years of your life welding and redoing this stuff? And I'm like, I know I already did it once. I don't really want to do it again. Like, I kind of wanted just a summer car where, you know, I'll ride that back and forth to the shop or all over and just go to some shows, stuff like that, you know, just have a nice summer car and salvage the miles on the R32. And then he talked me into it. Now, long story short of it is, you're right. I mean, I would have been at least 5 to 10K in with materials, paint, welding, electricity. I mean, when you take all of that into consideration, it would have been a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, you know, to buy one for a nice rolling, currently drivable, minor small little holes that I need to weld up, but other than that, I mean, the car is minty. I mean, it's such a nice car. So to just throw things at it right now, and I couldn't pass it up. I mean, when you think about it, in the end result, you'd be spending a lot more. So I think I'll be maybe 12 into that car as opposed to, you know, 15 to 20.
Yeah.
It's a big difference, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think finding a good starter is always a good thing too. But I guess it's always dependent on what you're looking to do in the end result too.
Yeah.
You know?
No, for sure. You're building a race car, you're building a show car, you're building a daily driver. Yeah. But I still think, you know, regardless, man, just finding like cool bumpers and lips and wings and just like those little things that set them all apart, all the Euro stuff. Getting pretty difficult. Yeah.
No, by the way, since the last time we talked, I did find out that the Mark III pretty much had 4 different fucking versions of a bumper. Jackass.
That's right. You're having issues getting that lip on, right?
So apparently the Golf GTI or the Golf bumper, Euro bumper is different. So let's see, we have the American bumper, we have the Euro bumper, Golf, Euro bumper, Vento, and then Euro bumper, Golf with the interchangeable tops, whether you wanted texture or non-texture. Oh, and then interchangeable Vento. So 5 fucking different bumpers, these assholes. And of course, the Vento bumper is just ever so slightly different where you can't put lips on it.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but not that particular lip. The yachting lip will not go on because it's so bulky, and I don't have the heart to trim it up. So I think I'm going to end up having to buy myself a Golf Euro bumper. Joy.
I mean, that Jetta's going to be sick. I think you should just
It'll
do
be
it.
fun.
Yeah.
It'll be good looking. I had fun with it today, though. It was fun.
Were you working on it, or were you driving it?
I'm still on vacation right now, so I'm caught up with everybody's orders at the moment, except I'm waiting for airlift. So I'm waiting on airlift stuff. So I can't really do much until they're, send it in or I get it. But then today I was working on the air ride stuff for it. So I really can't do the air ride yet because I still need to convert the car to 5 lug and do all that stuff and get ready for the VR down the road. But I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to do a run of powder coating, so why not make the brackets to hold the tank and hold the air management stuff so that it's all nice and clean and usable trunk. So whipped out the old aluminum section of our TIG welder and had some fun today. So
rad. Where are you going to mount the tank and all that stuff? Are you going to try to hide it? Are you going to mount it like up so it's kind of floating? There's a bunch of different ways to do it.
It's kind of floating. So it's I don't know if any of you ever heard of rib nuts, but rib nuts are cool. It's like a rivet, but it's a nut.
Yeah. You just drill a hole and kind of pop it in there with that little rib nut tool.
Yeah, and then so I did rib nuts. I did all of that, and then made a bracket that goes across the back of the or the trunk section, and then the tank mounts to that, and then from there the air management wraps up and over it so that it sits right in front of it.
Sick.
So, and it's all welded to one bracket, like it's all one big long bracket with 4 mounting points. So it should be able to hold it nice and sturdy without bending the metal and stuff too. But then I wanted to keep it somewhat close so that, obviously if you're doing air ride, it'd be nice to be able to blow up your tires and utilize the air capacity of the tank as well. And then, where they call it, I still want to be able to utilize my trunk, and if I needed to put dead bodies in there, I can. So
sure,
well,
you need a place.
That new stuff.
You need a place for hooker bodies. That's got to be
right.
When you're building a car, it's like, how many hooker bodies can I get in this trunk?
It's turning out pretty good though. I think it should be nice. I can't wait to see it all powder coated and see what it looks like with all the crinkle stuff, So
that's gonna do. That's gonna
every day.
Dope. So when with all the CKW2 like air ride stuff, because you guys offer a ton of stuff like Mark 1s, Mark 2s. So I've been eyeing like your Mark 1 kits forever, and a bunch of stuff that you guys do. You make all that stuff by hand, built to order, which is rad. How do the like air struts and stuff work out? Do you just order parts from Airlift and you build your own setups? How does that?
Yeah. So for Mark 1, I build my own setups. So obviously Mark 1, you can buy Airlift originals, which have the the sleeve with the collar and the adjustable and all that stuff. However, it's just a single bellow bag. So 9 times out of 10, I have people coming and buying my double bellow bags because they've come to realize that it's just not that great of a ride. So if you want the car to be on the ground, then the downside is you got to spin it all down, which means you have to put more air in it. Now, because it's a single bellow bag, you have to put more air in it, which tends to be a pretty stiff ride, right? So ours are as low, but featuring a double bellow bag. So you have the cushioning almost like a semi truck. So just like when you look at a semi's bag, they're double bellow bags.
Right.
So it allows it to conform and change based on the road and stuff like that. But they're still performance series. I mean, you can still adjust inbound, rebound.
Mm-hmm.
So the only difference is you don't have a camber plate at the top.
Right.
But that was their only solution to be able to do that, because to have the camber adjustment at the top, you had to have a smaller bag. The
Mm-hmm.
bag's too big for them to do that. So unfortunately, you're not going to have that, really comfortable ride. But I mean, I guess to toot one's horn, I don't know. I mean, I would have to say everybody dances to a different beat of a drum.
Right.
Ride quality on a vehicle differs significantly from person to person.
Right. Well, you and I are both old, so we'd like a comfortable ride. I mean, for me, if I'm going to spend
Right.
the money for an air ride kit, I want it to ride really comfortable. I have two completely static slammed Mark 1s right now that ride like absolute garbage. Bump steer, they don't brake. I mean, they're horrible, but that's the static life, right?
That's the static life.
How did you get started with like building especially like the Mark 1 kits? Did you just like build a kit that you wanted for one of your cars and it just kind of snowballed into like a product line? And then how does that work out with like Airlift? Do you get stuff from them at a certain count, or like, at a certain cost to be able to do your own stuff to it? Or how does that all work out?
So with CKW2, that's actually Cross and Kramer,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually, they were the two that purchased it from old school Volkswagens. As we all know, we've heard multiple different things about Terry, so on and so forth. I've heard different things too. But in the end result, he couldn't run it anymore. So then Rob and Eric purchased it. Rob wanted to move back here to Ohio. So Eric didn't, want to be part of the business anymore. So I purchased Eric's half.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, Rob had, life changes as well. His son was coming back into his life. So, obviously full time, it was going to be really tough for him to be able to do everything. So he stepped away too. So some of the old stuff like the air ride, that's still from, back in the day from old school Vulcan Works. Still carry a few product lines from that, like the bag axle flip to the four link to the UDMC. Everything else has really just been my own creation stuff. So things that I've wanted. The skid plate was something that I thought about almost 20 years. I kept looking at it, I'm like, how come they don't make one for this car? And, gosh, I can't remember his name. It's been so long. But he used to make Mark II, Mark III skid plates.
Mm-hmm. Were they the Panzer? Are they the Panzer?
No,
kits?
not the
Those are
Panzer. Gosh, he lived in Columbus. But, he used to have like a maroon Mark II GTI. Really beautiful. One of the first to shave a bay, really. It was just really nice. But I remember chatting with him. I'm like, man, I swear, like, we could totally do one for a Mark 1, And that it was stuck in my head, I think at that point, almost like 15 years. And, when I finally got to shop and, I would have to say like 5-6 years into it, I was like, wow, hey, you know what? It's time to make this. So I did, just like, all right, here we go. I'm like, I just need it out of my brain. It's got to come out finally. And then same with the strut tower bars, the lower bars, the rear bars. It's just all stuff that I've always wanted and I would make for myself. And I said, well, you know what? I think I'll just start making them and, sell it to everybody else. Awesome. Airlift, yeah. It's a pretty expensive game with Airlift. Mm-hmm. So generally I don't stock Airlift in the shop. The reason being, it's just too expensive. I'm a small business owner, not a huge corporation where I'm going to have tens of thousands of dollars on my shelf. You have to consider even the steel and everything that I have for the, is still money on the shelf.
Mm-hmm. Inventory.
Right?
Yeah. Inventory costs.
Exactly. So, when I usually make UDMCs 5 to 10, strut tower extenders, things like that. 5 to 10, mm-hmm. I keep them all in stock. Now, Airlift is built to order because, well, it's expensive. I'm not going to have, a $700 bag kit sitting on my shelf. So, but I mean, yeah, it's hard for some people because I get bids all the time on eBay where people are like $500, and I'm like, yeah, no, sorry, it doesn't even cover the cost of the bags, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's be a little realistic here. And it still takes me time to do it, you know, and
Hmm.
material, electricity, you know, in the wintertime, the heat, it's not cheap in the shop, you know, I mean,
Right.
it's a 2,500 square foot shop, so then upstairs and downstairs. So, I mean, you could literally park a semi truck in the damn thing. I mean, it takes a while to heat it up. So, yeah, I mean, people don't think about all the other things that go into something where, you know, there's obviously a cost markup too. So,
Yeah.
but I pride myself on keeping the prices the same.
Hmm.
So even with our steel prices going up, which is great, but your scrap prices are going up too because obviously we're in the need for steel.
Hmm.
But in the same note, we're paying more for steel.
Yeah.
So, you know, just to get a skid plate, I mean, that's a lot. I mean, they're 33 pounds of steel.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know, it's fun though. I enjoy exercising my brain in multiple different aspects of things, I guess you could say.
What was
Yes,
fascinating to me is like the first time we were talking, it's the first time we ever chatted. I learned a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting stuff about you. One of the things I learned is that you're a banker. Like that's actually like your what do we call that? Your daytime gig.
I guess my career.
You're a
I've
career
been,
banker, and then you're a side hustle and fabricator.
yeah, I guess. Um, Yeah, no, I've been a banker for almost 19 years. So, you know, I do mortgages and second mortgages and lines of credit to, you know, just overall financial health for people. So,
You
you know,
ever
I definitely pride myself helping people. But
you ever have anyone come at you needing a loan for like your product? Hey yo,
no,
I need to take
no, but
10K to give it right back to you.
I've had a few drifters. So a few drift guys that
Oh, nice.
crashed into the wall, needing a
Ouch.
loan to fix the car. I'm like, oh my God, what did you do?
That's
Like they
hilarious.
were
They
up
come
in the
in to
speedway.
talk to a banker. It's some drift kid. He just stuffed his E36 M3, and he's like,
Right. Well,
I
it's
need
just Mustang, but you know, I mean,
I need
it
some
is what it
money.
is.
You're like, what'd you do,
Yeah,
kid?
right.
That's
Oh,
hilarious.
it's just like, and you know, then I have people who come in for loans to try to fix their car and things like that. And I mean, even then, I try to send them to the right place. I'll send them to, you know, my buddy's mechanic shop. Um, so then that way, you know, they can easily get it fixed up, and they do financing as well. So they do great work. So I guess we'll do a shout out for them, the guys at First Time Automotive.
Shout out
But
first time.
they definitely, you know, they help a lot of customers that I send over there, because I mean you know, if you can't afford to fix the car, I mean, and you're in dire need, you got to get to work. I mean,
Mm.
got to give people solutions. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a fun career, but it's definitely the yin to the yang. Because I mean, I'll go to the shop and I won't talk to anybody. I'll just sit there and work.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I'm talking all day at work, and then I go to the shop, turn the music on, and just have a good old time and start making stuff. So
Yeah.
I
That's a
enjoy
good
that too. You know,
the good relief. The good release.
yeah, like your artistic and ingenuitive side of your brain. You
Yeah.
know, so it's always fun. Like, I mean, I was talking to my wife on Tuesday or Monday, Tuesday. She stopped up at the shop, and I'm like, what do you think if I put the air tank here and do this and do that? And she's like, that'll look kind of cool. And I'm like, I know I'm going to do it. And then next thing you know, it had to be out of my brain. Here we are today. It's done. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I enjoy stuff like that. So it's always fun to have something envisioned in your head. You're like, how am I going to do this? And you think from A to Z, and then you figure it out, and you're like, all right, here we go. You know,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, like
yeah.
last time we talked too, you made a good point. Like when you were coming up, especially when you were working on the GTI, you couldn't just pay someone to do stuff. So
Mm-mm.
you had to do what you could. You had to fabricate what you could. You had to scrap together what you could to do whatever you
Right.
wanted to get those ideas out of your head.
Yeah, I mean it. So for those of you who don't know, I mean, when we were when we were chatting about that, yeah, I mean, I bought the car. I had a vision. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this and, lower it and put a cage in. I couldn't pay anybody to do that. I mean, I had all these visions and dreams to the moon, and I'm like, okay, reality sets in. How am I going to do this? So I had to learn how to weld. Once I put the motor in, painted the engine bay, and I looked and I was like, well, where am I going to put the fuel lines and the brake lines? Because there's no floors. Like, oh, crap. So, yeah, I had to redo floors, and then while I was doing floors, I'm like, well, I might as well put a cage in it, and then had to learn that. Wanted a nice interior, and I'm like, well, I had this guy come up. I got all that interior, the leather for it. I got it for $300 and 6 hides.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy Italian. Every time you open the car, it smells like leather. It's
That's
great.
such a gorgeous color too.
Thanks, man. Black and tan.
Oh.
So I had this guy who used to do like furniture upholstery stuff. He came out to my buddy's sewing shop, and he's like, all right, well, and I'm like, all right. So started taking everything apart and re-outlining it, and making all the stencils, and then he just blows through like 2 of them. He just could not get the damn thing to sew. So before that, my buddy Jeremy and I, we were making snowboarding pants out of canvas and flannel. It was cool, except it's really heavy. So you didn't really go very high in the air. So no, we nuxed that real quick. But we from there I've had experience with the sewing machine. So I looked at my daughter and I was like, well, we already have everything cut out. I'm like, this dude left. I'm like, he's obviously blown through this shit, and he thinks like it grows on the wall when it really grows on a cow.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, no. So the next thing you know, I just started sewing, and 2 weeks later, I was done.
Damn,
just learned how to sew my own interior. I mean, that whole thing I did. It was tough, man. I mean, it was definitely an eye-opener in Show Circuit 2014 when we went out there going all over the East Coast, and people telling me, oh, who did this, who did that? And I'm like, well, actually, I did. And they're like, wait, what? Well, no.
I did all the things.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's super awesome though. Those are the cars I love seeing where it's like, I did everything on this car. I did all the body work. I did all the fixes. I did all the repairs. I did the suspension. I did the interior. I did the motor. I did the wiring. I did this. It's pretty rad. Those are the builds that I enjoy because, it takes a lot of skill to do that stuff. Like you said, like I tried doing a bunch of stuff. I'm pretty handy with the wrench if I need to. I could do an air ride install or coil over suspension, stuff like that. I've done a little bit of body work in my life. But you don't realize how hard it is to learn some of that stuff. Like you said, you had all that leather. If you screw up, trying to rewrap your seats or the cage, there's only like that starts to cost some money. You start burning through materials trying to learn how to do something.
Oh yeah, I mean it costs a lot. So, I was really lucky though. I mean, it all kind of fell into place, and then my wife being as supportive as she has been with it. I mean, she knew it was just as much, it was a dream. It was her dream to see my dream come true. And I mean, it was a dream that I had for 20 some odd years and then just stuck with it. I mean, life happens. I mean, things come in the way, but no matter what, I stuck with it, man. I just didn't let it go. I'm just persistent and just said, nope, I'm going to have this happen one day. And did.
You can tell, man.
That's the least I could do for the little guy. I mean, he took me to school, I mean, he took me to high school. He took me to college. He took me to prom, the first bar. I mean, all kinds of stuff, man.
Dude,
like,
that's insane, man. That's crazy.
Memories.
That car really did a lot for you, dude. Set you on this path that you're on, man, and that's crazy. You showed as much love back to the car as it's shown you this whole time.
Right, and now I paid it back to the guy I bought it from. So I remember I was telling you before, so you guys don't know, but the News Herald did a publication when PVW first came and photographed the car, mainly because we're in a smaller town, and obviously they wanted the recognition too. But when they came and did that, I told them who I bought the car from, and they actually gave me his phone number. So virtually like maybe 3 weeks ago, I hit him up and I said, hey, I know this is going to be a really weird text, but my name's Greg. I bought the car from you back in, 1995, 94. Like, I just wanted to let you know, thank you so much, man. You changed my life. And I know you said I wouldn't have this car for the rest of my life, but here I am messaging you and saying thank you.
Wow.
And if you ever want to hang out and go somewhere or do something to see the car again, let me know. By all means, I'd be more than happy to swing out to your house and just say hi and, go from there. And he hit me back up and he's like, oh man, as soon as the weather clears, we gotta do this. We gotta hang out. I really want to see the car. And I mean, I bought it from him when he was like 30 something. So he's in
Wow.
his late 50s.
Yeah.
So can you imagine 20 years later, some guy messages you and was like, hey, thanks again for selling me that car, man. You changed my life. So
That's crazy. He's gonna look
back
at
to
it.
that dude too.
He hasn't seen it since he sold it to you, right?
No, no, he hasn't seen it. And he moved out from that apartment complex, like, I would say like a year after, because he had snowmobiles. I mean, he had a big Chevy truck, and and then he had this little rabbit. Like, so I don't know. Talked him into it. I lucked out, man. I mean, honestly, definitely changed the course of my life. That's for sure.
I was gonna
So
get to the PVW feature. So 2014, is that when the feature dropped? When you were done with
no,
the
so
for the
it
black
took them a
one?
minute to find it to put it into place, but the first photo was 2014. That's when the photos took place in November. It didn't get featured till July, um, 2016. So virtually, Jamie messaged me to let me know, hey, and I was like, oh, what a birthday present, because my birthday's July 16th. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. This is so cool. What a
Nice.
day. Like, this is the greatest birthday present ever. And it was great because that year at Madness, we took the car and it had a PVW sticker on the windshield, and man, they ripped into me. They're like, who took the picture? And when was it featured? And I'm like, well, actually, James Jetton took the picture and it hasn't been featured yet. But hey, I'm like, I wanted to take the car somewhere. So,
Mm.
and then shortly right after that, and then,
Wait,
yeah,
were
so
people
a couple
ripping on
years.
you because they didn't? Why were people ripping on you for having the PVW sticker on there? Was it because they hadn't seen it
Because
yet?
it's sacrilege. It is sacrilege to have that sticker on your vehicle if you haven't been featured.
Oh yeah, okay, I get that point. Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
there's a lot of cars out there that have that sticker that shouldn't have that sticker. They never, they were never featured. They just put it on there because of maybe the love of the magazine or something. But
Just bootleg them.
I guess I don't
Hmm.
know.
And
But
that's
it's
the
crazy.
spot.
Like, when they
That's
actually, man, the first sticker, I swear, the first one that I got, when I saw the sticker and Jet gave it to me, I flipped it over and it even said "Made in England." And I was like, "Oh
nice.
my God, it's so cool!" Like, I still have the sticky back too for the sticker,
That's
because I
awesome,
mean,
dude.
it was so cool to peel that vinyl and then it
Yeah.
says "Made in England." And I'm like,
Is there
wow.
is there a rule with PVW like you have to put the sticker there on the windshield, or is that just like an
Yeah, it,
unspoken thing?
you have to put it somewhere on the car,
Okay.
you
Because
know.
everyone rocks
But
it right there in the center of the windshield. Like that's like the
well, yeah.
iconic
I
spot.
mean, call it tradition.
Ah,
You know what I mean?
that
Like,
makes
it's
sense.
just, I mean, to me, I don't know. I know for some other people it might be different, but to me, it was just, I mean, it was my dream.
Yeah, no, you're
And I
you're
mean, a lot
literally
of people,
you're putting a stamp on your build. Like that just
yeah,
certified, boom, certified. Right? That's what I
I
think.
mean,
That's like the epitome of building the cars that have it in PVW. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. I mean, it was, I don't know. Like, it was unreal. I mean, it was definitely, I don't know. I would have to say I shed a few tears that day doing that.
But
I
that's
mean,
not
I just,
wasn't the cabbie was also featured in PVW. So you have two
yeah, yeah,
PVW features under your belt.
yeah.
So the Mark One, the black one, you've had that thing since your first car. You worked on it forever. Then, how did we get into the cabbie?
So during the build of the Rabbit, oh geez, I would say like '08. we bought the Cabby. My ex-girlfriend and I, we bought the Cabby. Bought that car for $600.
Wow.
I threw about a couple grand at the car, small stuff. Let's lower it, do an exhaust, things that need to get fixed, so on and so forth. So we got it all done, and then we broke up. Then she hits up my mom a year later. Hey, do you want this Cabby? She had the audacity to sell it to my mom for $2,000. Mind
Wow.
you, I did all the work. I bought all the shit, right? My mom's like, well, I don't want this to happen to you again, Greg. It wasn't the first ex where I built a car for, started building a car, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So she's like, I don't want this one to go away. And I'm like, all right. She's like, I really like it. I think it's cute. So she bought it. She paid the 2 G's and brought the car home. Cleaned it up for a while. She rocked it. And of course, they don't know how to take care of cars. They leave it outside. They don't actually put it in the garage. Well, it's a triple white car. You can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So after cleaning it up the first time, now it's even more wretched. Then I'm like, all right, we're just going to start keeping this thing at my shop. So took it to the shop. It just sat there for a while. Granted, it helped build and design, like even the strut tower brace.
Mm-hmm. Just having it there, take measurements off of
Yeah.
stuff
So
like
I was
that.
able to, do designs off it because I didn't want to use my car because, well, it already has one. So I'm like, all right, I'll just start doing stuff off of this one. And then it sat in the shop for, God, almost 4 years, just collecting dust. And then it was like, all right, the Grumman's done. Business is good. All right, it's time. I'm like, let's tear into this bad boy. So, yeah, let's see. Started November, right after Shopsgiving. We did. And then I tore into her and had her stripped down in a week and then off to paint. After welding, plugging everything, so on and so forth. I was done building that car in 7 months.
Dang.
Yeah,
So, oh
it
wait,
was.
oh wait,
Yeah.
you bought the car with the X, and then when did your mom buy it back after that? Like
Um,
2010?
no, more like, gosh, I don't even 14, 15, yeah, maybe like 12.
Okay.
12, yeah,
It-
2011, 2012 is when she bought it back. And yeah, I would say like 10 or 11, actually. 10 or 11. And then sat around the shop all the way till um, 19,
Dang, and then
right?
just
18. November 18 is when I tore it apart. And then 19 is when it was photographed and it came out. The PVW feature was January this year.
when you built the Cabby, when you were done with it, I'm gonna throw up air quotes because we're never really done, right? When you were done with it, was it kind of out there, and did PVW come back to you to go, hey, you built this second rad car we want in our magazine? How did the second feature work out with PVW?
Um, More or less, yeah. I mean, I reached out to them and said, hey, got another one done. And then they said, well, we definitely want to take a picture of it and see what we could do. I love the article. I mean, family first. Because, I mean, it really, the whole family's wrapped up in the VW. So everybody, my cousin David, my mom, my stepdad to my wife to family, friends. I mean, it's hilarious because you hang around with me long enough, you're gonna get the bug, and you're gonna get yourself a dub because it's just the way it is, you know. I don't know. I stand by him. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time, so
Mm-hmm.
I love him. I don't
I
know.
like I like
Just
that little quote on the CKW2 website when you click on there and there's like your little profile thing. I think it's like 25 years of elbows and assholes in a Mark One or something like that. Did I mess that up? I was like,
no, you got
I
it.
was like,
25 years of assholes and elbows.
I was cracking
Get
up
you
when
up
I
in the
read that.
straight
I
jacket.
was like, that's perfect.
I mean, shit. So during my time of learning, about 18 years old, my dad passed away at a very young age. And I remember the first time I took the rabbit to the dealership. It was like I was 18 years old and it needed an alternator. So I go to Forest City Auto Parts, go get an alternator. I go to VW and I'm standing there, go to the backside, of the shop, and go in there smoking a cigarette, and I look at this old guy and he's working on my Rabbit. He grabs a screwdriver like, we're talking, I don't know, I can't even fit it in the screen.
Like as tall
huge,
as him.
like a giant fucking pry bar, and he just literally goes whoop, jacks the motor forward and drops in the alternator just like that off the AC and the core support. I'm like, huh, okay. And he turns around, he looks at me, he goes, "This your car, boy?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He's like, "What are you, stupid?" I'm like, "What the fuck, old man? Like,
Shit.
really?" He's like, "I could do this shit for the third of the cost, and you might actually learn something." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay." Pull out of the dealership, or I should say stealership, and I look at the voltage meter on the GTI, and it's pegged. I mean, all the way past 19. Like, this thing's fully fucking charging. Like, I'm freaking out. I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna blow up the battery. Like, what the fuck, So turn the heat on, turn the blower on, turn the headlights on, turn everything on. I drive off. I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do now? So then I go to Forest City Auto Parts, get an argument with them about, getting another alternator. And they're like, oh, it's because you have a system in there. And I'm like, no, it's not. I'm like, I'm not an idiot. Like, your shit's fucked up and I need you to replace it. And I got really mad because I had to go back to VW and get it fixed again. And I'm standing in the back smoking a cigarette. And old man turns around, looks at me and goes, "So what are you, stupid boy?" I'm like, "Fuck you, fine, give me your number, man." So he was a mechanic, senior tech at VW. He would buy the cars for 50 to 100 bucks. When the people came and traded them in, he'd take them out to his barn, and my job was to strip them down, catalog them, and put them all up in the barn.
Whoa.
I mean, there is a barn where there's 40, 50 of these where you could build. I mean, we're talking anything, man. We're talking little pull pins to little brackets to little clips to anything you could possibly fathom that you can't buy on the internet and you can't find. It's there.
It's in this dude's barn, like to this day?
Wow. And I organized it all, man. Like, I mean, literally, there's enough to build at least 40, 50 Mark IIs.
What's the old man doing with all this stuff? He just stashed it away just to have eventually, or?
Well, people used to go to his house and fix the older cars. They pretty much the dealership would say, just go to George's house and he'll fix it for you.
Gotcha.
So
he just wanted a parts
that's how
hoard.
I learned. What's that?
He just wanted a parts hoard that he could pull from.
Well, no, I mean, he was making side money. That was his side hustle. So he would have people come out with their diesels and all kinds of other stuff, and he'd fix it, do lash adjustments on the cam, all that stuff. I mean, he would just do everything right then and there, at his house. And then he would buy up all the cars, recycle the steel, and then my job was literally to strip the car down to nothing. So I went to go buy a Mark II, and I had him look at it at the dealership, and when they jacked it up, I pretty much told the dude, tell him he'll give him $50 for the car. Dude, was like, he was heartbroken, man, because the car, he did sell it for $50.
Oh man!
I ended up at George's house and I stripped it down.
Dang.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's nuts, man. But that's how I learned how to take a lot of this stuff apart and what everything was for, and so on and so forth. So Mark I, Mark IIs have always been something I've been good at, and then threes are so similar. So
do you ever hit old man up if you ever need any parts? Like, I know you got this.
I go visit him sometimes. He tells me I got too much fucking time on my hands because I'll show up. I went up there with the Rabbit because he used to help me fix the Rabbit. I went up there and he's seen it and he goes, "You got too much fucking time on your hands, boy." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, George."
All my time's going into this fucking Rabbit.
But he hates him. I mean, he loves him. Like, he used to fix him up too, and he used to make him really nice. But then he hit a cow and endoed the car.
Oh, jeez.
Literally, just hit the cow and the car flipped over. So he's like, "Fuck it, I'm done." I mean, then plus people with shopping carts and all that shit. So, yeah.
Wow.
That's I know, crazy, right? Like, dude. Who would have thought, man? Like, But yeah, it's kind of funny when you start thinking about old memories, man. Like, put him in the magazine too. Mentioned him there.
Nice. Shout
I
out.
mean, recognition to everybody, man. I mean, it wasn't just me. I had a huge support system to help too, you know? So
So you
it
got
wasn't just.
the GTI done. You got anything else planned for that, or is that just done?
Um,
Is it
Pretty
there
much
gonna be
done.
a fourth build to that thing or no?
No, no, that car's done.
The cat
In my eyes, it's finished.
the cabbie. Anything else planned for that
Uh-huh.
thing? Is that done?
Eh, maybe a couple things. I've thought about some carbon fiber goodies, but other than that,
Okay.
it's done. Maintenance done. Drive. You know, I mean, it's built to the hilt. I mean, everything you could think of, it's done to that 2.0. You know, um, so there's really no, you know what I mean. That one's done. The Grumman, I want to do some stuff to it, but you
And
know,
that thing's sick. That's bagged, right?
yeah.
A lot of work going into that.
Yeah, about 9 months. So yeah, full tear out, and then everybody asked me how long did it take to polish it. So it was
Yeah.
9 months. Yeah, it
Jesus.
was like labor of not so much love. Where, all right, I spend a week polishing, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with this shit for a while, and then a month later, all right, I'm gonna polish another week. I'm done with this shit for a while.
What
So
does the stock suspension on those things look like? Is it like torsion bars and like weird shit going on? You couldn't.
Depends. So high floor, low floor. There's two different versions. High floor is dasher rear end, and then front rabbit. The low floor is rabbit front end as well, and then caddy rear end.
Oh, okay.
So, right, the bag axle flip goes on the rear for what I make, and then the air ride is still the same for rabbit to that. So,
It's not too
it's
difficult.
just funny when you see people's attention spans, they don't last very long at a show. And, you're looking through it and you're watching, and then just like, all right, I need to build something where, like, literally, this is the car,
Yeah.
this goes on this car, this is what we sell, here you go.
Yeah.
Because on the Grumman, they would get so lost on what it looks like, what it is, as opposed to, yeah, this is the stuff we have to offer you, you know? So the cabbie really was that. The
Nice.
cabbie was the one where, hey, look, here's our skid plate, here's our strut tower bar, here's our air ride. This is what it'll be like,
Roof rack.
So, yeah, roof rack. Oh, jeez. I know everybody wants me to make him. I want to. I'm
I had to
gonna.
throw that out there. Sorry.
I know. I'm gonna. It's on my list of things to do. Let's put it that way. Like, it's there. I know exactly how to do it. I just. I want to make a jig first. But I'll be happy to report to everybody that I finally bought a lot of steel and I have enough things to make jigs again. So I'll jig
Nice.
it out and I'll start working on it. But right now I need a good daily and not my R32. So that's why I'm doing the Mark III.
That's what I was getting to. So
Right.
Your R's pretty much done, but you want to keep that thing clean. You want to keep the miles off of it. Your last time we
Right.
were talking, you were like tossing up air ride, but maybe
I mean,
not.
I have it all there.
Yeah.
I mean, I have all the air ride in the shop. I mean, like, ready to go on the car. I just don't want to do it. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to drill holes in the car. So until I can figure out in my mind how to do it without doing that, I won't do it.
Yeah.
So,
That's what I drilled the fuck out of my Mark IV R32. I feel bad for that car. Don't do that. Don't do what I did.
you just made mine more valuable. It's fine.
Yeah. So Mark IV, your R32 is clean, dude. Reflex silver, super RSs. I mean, there's not much more you really need to do to that thing, but keep the miles off
No,
of
not
it.
really. I mean, it's
Stock
pretty
interior?
much done.
I didn't see
What's
the
that?
stock interior.
Yeah. I mean, I put sounds in it, stuff like that. I mean, I did some little odds and ends, like the Jetta light or the Jetta vents.
You know what's rare
And
nowadays? Are
what's
clean
that?
Mark IV R32 Koenig seats. That's like rare. All of them are C. All of them are C. Are trashed, dude. Or a lot of them are C.
What's crazy is that on eBay, they actually used to sell the fabric. Like, you could actually buy a new leather set, and I to this day regret not buying it. It was like a couple $100. I should have just bought him and just stored him. I never thought about it, but I have extra shifters and pedals and floor mats, like, but I didn't do that with the seats. But I mean, honestly, if you regularly shampoo the seats and you cover them, they'll be fine.
Yeah. I don't know. A lot of the front Koenig R32 seats that I see, the Mark IV R32 seats, the stock Koenigs are trash. Those bolsters just get destroyed by people. They just kind of, all over them, and then they just blow out.
Honestly, they're not the greatest seats, though.
No,
they're really not.
It's nice to see a super clean set in a minty Mark IV R32, though, for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, I give you that. It's still, I don't know, like, they're not Recaros.
Yeah. I ruined my Mark IV. I ruined my R32 so bad. There's so many things I would have done over. I would have kept the stock interior. I sold the stock interior for way too cheap, right? I should have kept it. And I had like the set. They weren't all leathers. They had like the cloth centers.
Oh, the cloth centers?
Yeah. And I sold those and got like Eurojet seats for some reason. Yeah, dude. There's like I messed that car up, man. I would have just left it clean. But I was a dumb 20-year-old, dude, and that's what dumb 20-year-olds do to cars. We destroy them.
I don't know. Like, I just want to keep it clean. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's all you should want to do is just keep it clean. And that's why that takes us to the Jetta, the Vento. That's going to be your new labor of love. You bought a whole spare car from your cousin, right? That's got the VR swap. So you're going to do the VR swap. I already saw your super dope OZs that you posted on Facebook. Those are going to go on it, right? Air Ride. That thing's sick, dude. And I keep forgetting the name of that color because I used to hate that color. What's that dark green?
Sequoia green.
Sequoia green. I used to hate that color for some reason.
It took me a minute to remember it. Like, I still forget it. Like, I still have to think about it and go, oh, yeah, Sequoia green. Yeah,
I used to hate that color. Now when I see that color, I'm just like, oh, it's such a sick color. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm an old man.
I love how the black pops off the green. It really does. You know, but it's even on a white one. But I always still feel as though all white Volkswagens are, I don't know. There's something about them, man. They just, how do I say it? They're cursed. Every single white VW is cursed.
Maybe
I don't know what it is.
Maybe that's why all my Volkswagens don't treat me well. Is because they're all white.
I'm telling you, man.
That's what
It's great. She's a good runner, but she's still got a gremlin. I got to figure it out, man. I think it's that stupid little plastic interchange thing that goes from the tank to the pump and then goes to the motor and then returns back into that plastic thing. I bought a brand new one. I haven't put it in yet. That's after everybody comes out of storage, we'll get that going. But
nice.
I don't know. She's got a sputter, on high rev sometimes, and I think that it's fuel starvation issue, and I think that's what needs to get fixed. So I'm thinking that is probably clogging back through. No big deal. It's just she runs great. She purrs, starts right up, she goes, but then the fuel pump will start screaming after a while. So I'm thinking that's what it is. So no biggie, but
no biggie.
Still a white one.
This. Yeah. I don't know. I ruined my Mark IV R32 because it was deep blue pearl, but then I put a white wrap on it. So I caused issues for myself.
See? I did a clutch in a 1.8T Jetta, like 02, 03. That was hell. And that car was cursed. The coil packs, the wiring to the coil packs, all kinds of stuff. My white Passat. Oh, fuck that car. Like, white car. My Mark II that was white Jetta, but it was also winter camo because it was a winter beater. So that one, there's a couple of good shots on my Facebook with that one too, where I put I bought that car for $500 and I put wheels that are worth $4,000.
Yeah, dude. I love that shit. I absolutely love that shit.
Up winter camo and shit. It was hilarious, man.
Dude, those are my cars. Like
What's that?
my Mark Ones are just clapped out beaters, and they have like one of them has like a $3,000 set of BBS RTs. The other one doesn't have expensive wheels on it, but I love that like the patina rust kind of beater with like the super expensive wheels. For me, it's like wheels and brakes. That's what I do. I'll get like a beat up
Yeah.
Mark One, and I'll like do like suspension, so I'll drop it on its ass, and then I'll do wheels and brakes. The brakes have to be like new and shiny. I can't have like old shitty brakes behind like $3,000 wheels. That like is a
Oh yeah, no,
huge
by all
pet
means.
peeve of mine. I go to like car shows and stuff, or see cars around, and it's like, man, this dude spent all of his money on his wheels. You could have got a little, like you could have spent like $1,000 less on your wheels and got brakes instead of like the super bling wheels with like the crusty rotors and calipers, and you're like, oh, dude.
That's virtually what I'm waiting for on the Mark III right now. So
Yeah.
my buddy Wes, um, he has a guy out by him where he literally like he's amazing. He's just amazing. Like he is a plethora of knowledge. All right, but he takes all the nuts and bolts off cars when he strips them down, and he just throws them in a 5-gallon bucket, sandblasts them out, and then has them all cab bladed.
Nice.
And it's like $50 to do a 5-gallon bucket of
Dude,
hardware.
that's not bad at all,
Yeah.
dude.
And all OEM VW shit, right?
Wow.
So you all recap plates it, everything. Well, I gave him my driver's edition 11.5 calipers,
Nice.
right?
For the Mark
rear
III.
calipers. Then he's CAD plating it all, and then from there he's powder coating it all. So literally brand spanking new. Yeah, like I can't wait. Like, so the car has to get converted to 5x100 because it's currently 4x100 for those OZs to go on the car.
Yeah, and
so,
you don't want to run adapters. You're not about adapters. You're Greg. You're going to convert it to
No.
5 lug.
I mean, I'm still gonna run spacers, but
Okay.
that's because I made it a really high offset wheel so that I could find exactly
Yeah.
where I need it to be. You know,
Yeah.
which I don't mind because I really do like the H&R spacers that they have where they're hub centric, and then there's 5 holes where you bolt it to the hub and then you bolt the wheel to it.
Yeah.
So ended up getting those. I think they're like DR line or something like that. I don't know. But I kind of figured where I would want it, but I also don't want to roll the fenders on the car. So that's the other thing. I want to try to keep it as stock as much as I can and revertible, but I mean to an extent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I know I'm getting old and quirky, I guess. I don't know.
I'm
Can't
like,
help it.
roll the fenders. Roll them all. I just
Well,
actually...
the thing is, if you roll fenders, then 9 times out of 10 you're going to chip paint.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
I've
then
had
you need
some...
paint.
Yeah, I've had some... Well, see, most of the cars I'm rolling fenders on, I don't care about the paint.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. I rolled the fenders on the Rabbit, but yeah, it just I like no. I don't think I didn't roll. Wait, no, I rolled fenders on the Cabby, but I did that before paint too.
Oh, that's the best. That's the best bet because you get
Yeah.
shot after. And
I mean, like before paint, you roll everything out. You get everything done before you're done. Like even today, building that bracket for, the airline stuff, it was, or the air tank and the management, it was, all right, let's fit this. Okay, this fits good. All right, let's take it off. Let's do this. Okay, let's put this back on. Okay, cool. This works here. All right, cool. Like you just keep bit by bit by bit, and it sucks because it's a lot of walking, a lot of back and forth.
Yeah.
But in the end result, hey, it works. All 4 mounting points line right up, so I can just take it, powder coat it, be done with it. So
Yeah, that's the
but
right.
same
That's
thing,
the right
if
way
you
to
do
do
it
it.
right, you're good.
Yeah, that's the
What's
right way
that?
to do it. I said that's the right way to do
Mhm.
it. You know what I mean? That's you
Yeah.
just got to take those extra steps because it makes the final product that much more better. I would say.
Yeah. We'll see. I know there's a lot of product line planned for it, as for Mark III.
Nice.
So I know right now we're doing the rear sway bars. Soon as Corrado Alley, as we all know him on Facebook, soon as he tests it out, it didn't make it. Next day air shipping for FedEx ended up being 2 weeks. Awesome.
Right.
Thank you guys.
And they still charge you next day.
Yeah, and it didn't go to so it didn't end up going to Wookiees in the Woods, unfortunately.
Oh, bummer.
He went. He couldn't test it, and that's where he
Ah,
wanted to really rip on it and test it.
right.
So now he's got to do double the work and put that thing in to see if it's actually going to work. Um, and then as soon as we have more confirmation pieces to it, then we're gonna get those sent out or start putting them on the website. Skid plates, yes, we are going to have Mark II, Mark III skid plates. So those will
Nice.
be coming soon, right? So I'm excited about that. I know quite a few people asked me to start making those old new speed rear strut bar kind of deal,
Hmm.
where it's like the triangular one.
Yeah.
So people were asking for that. Um, I don't know. That's really about it. I mean, not for right now. I mean, obviously the brain cells aren't working that much on that one yet, but
You're on vacation right now, dude. You don't have to think about
I
all the
know, right?
things.
It is nice.
I did
Just
get
sitting around.
one question for you off the Instagram post. I threw up on the Fuck Yeah Volkswagens Instagram page. I was like, you have any questions for Greg?
Yeah.
38 Bunny says, or asks, you only get to choose one VW. Which one and why? Like if you had to own only one, which one and
Hmm.
why? This question could go, I mean, it's so out there. I would do like
Oh God.
an A59 Mark III because they're so rare and just awesome. But maybe he's just saying just in general. Like you had to stick to
Well, I mean, are
one.
we talking? I guess. Are we talking daily? Are we talking functionality? What? I don't know.
No,
I mean, I guess
you
if
get
you want to
one and
do,
you get one and it has to do all the things.
but it has to do all the things.
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's your GTI. It's your Mark 1 GTI. That's the car.
No, not anymore. No, not anymore. I would have to say the R32
Nice. Oh, that's a good choice. That's safe.
because I mean, out of my cars that I own, I would have to say it's the R32. Um, the only other one where like let's say that I own.
Mm-hmm.
What I don't own would be a Mark II wide body,
Mm,
a Rally Golf. I would
nice.
love to have one of those in my life
Same here, dude.
with an R36.
Ooh,
It would be
3.6
nice.
swap into it. I've seen a couple of those. Yeah, that's a dream
Just
car.
saying. I mean, it would just be
That's a
it would
straight.
be a fun,
Yeah.
epic, great handling, and it would just be I don't know. It would just be a great car to have. Downside, anybody hits it like I got hit yesterday. This
No.
literally
And
went to the
what?
post office
What
to
do you get?
go ship two
The
UDMCs.
Jetta got hit. What got?
Yeah,
What
my
got hit?
wagon,
Oh
my station wagon got hit.
shit.
I'm standing there filling out the paperwork to send this shit to Canada, and the guy turns and looks at me. He goes, "Oh man, this lady just hit your car," and I'm like, "What? You're kidding, right? What, the black station wagon?" She's like, "Yeah, yeah." I'm like, "Great." I come outside, like the little vent ducts that you have in the bottom of the bumper on the
Yeah.
Mark IVs.
Uh huh.
Yep, both laying on the ground. The middle
Nah,
one laying on the
dude.
ground.
Did she like
This
back
lady
into it?
literally put her shit in reverse and just went bam.
Whoa. That
Everything
sucks,
fell
dude.
out of the bumper. I'm like, hmm. I'm like, did you look behind you at all? Like, there was nobody. And
Dude,
what's puzzling is there's nobody in front of her.
I had that happen to me. I daily drive a Gen 1 Raptor. I'm a truck bro. Um, I forget where I was. I was in like a drive-through for something. Maybe it was like a Starbucks for my wife or something. And the dude in front of me was in another Ford truck, and he just throws his shit in reverse and just like backs straight into me. And I like get out, and there's like no damage to the bumper or anything. There's like a little tiny little dent. You could barely see it. But like I get out and I'm like, yo, dude, I know there's a reverse camera on this fucking thing that pops up on a giant screen. I'm in a fucking super wide Gen 1 Ford Raptor. Like, I know you, like, how do you just reverse into me? And he was just kind of like dumbfounded staring at me like, I don't know. I
Were
was like,
you on your phone?
people are just dumb,
And
dude.
I don't know. I couldn't believe it. So I'm really sorry. And I'm like, okay. And then she's like, well, if it makes you feel any better, I work for the insurance company. I have insurance. And I'm like, oh, no, it doesn't. I'm like, I actually build cars, and that was a Euro bumper. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. That sucks, dude.
You know, I mean, it's the winter beater. I don't know that, like, every time I go on vacation or I have a day off and I have that car out, I get hit.
Is it white?
No, it's black. But to that question, I mean, that would be the only downside of having a rally Golf would be it would be really hard to get stuff for it.
Yeah, and like you said, it you know, you gotta be super careful when you drive it. That's why I don't have.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have nice cars anymore. I daily a truck, and I have two kind of clapped Mark ones. And I like get cars that I anticipate things are gonna break on, and not have cars that I don't want anything to break on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly though, the best car that I've owned so far, hands down, is my Mark IV wagon.
Nice.
2001, 2-point slow wagon.
It just gets
That
it.
car it's a tank. It's like 200 some odd thousand miles on the damn thing, and it just goes. I mean, like, starts right up. It's slow as shit. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it literally took the passenger side front seat out, all the back seats out. I had the hood, both fenders, the hatch, and both doors of the Rabbit
Nice.
to go get acid stripped, and then to have them be what do they call it? Not Cerakote. I guess Cerakoted, something like that. Not Cerakoted, but the other one, the black stuff. But yeah, it got all dipped and everything. Like, I had to drive almost an hour and a half out of my way to go to this place down in Niles, Ohio, and have them do it.
Wow.
So, but I mean, it's an epic car. I mean, you virtually put anything in that car. Like, you just, and then it goes. You know, it's like a little pickup truck, but covered.
I feel that because recently I had just picked up a 93 Eurovan, a T4 transporter, and I'm fucking in love with this thing. I shot for the T3s. I really wanted a T3, like a Vanagon, and then I was like, dude, crusty beat Vanagons are like $8,000. What the fuck? You know? So I was like just kind of hovering around like, I really want a Vanagon really bad. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not going to spend $8,000 on a beat Vanagon. So this Eurovan popped up and I was like, this thing's kind of dope. You know, it's a stick, 2.5, slow as shit. I live in Central Oregon. I had to drive like to Salem to get it. And you got to kind of go like over this pass. And I'm like fucking driving it back. And I am like maxed out, like as doing like 30, trying to get up this hill to get it back home. But it's so fun to drive, dude. Like, it's just a super rad car. I want to slam it, but no one makes anything for it. All the dudes who are slamming them are in the UK.
I can figure it out.
So I think I'm going to have to get with my cousin Greg here and figure out a CKW2 kit for the...
It's all downhill to here.
I'll just ship it to you.
All downhill.
Dude, I'll ship it to you.
Bro.
I'm going to ship you my Eurovan and just be like, just start making kits for this thing, dude. It'll catch on.
I would totally do it. That would be so much fun.
I just don't see...
Like,
I went down a rabbit hole with them, dude, because I was looking for Vanagons, and then I came across the T4s, and then like started looking at like all the Instagram hashtags. I was like Instagram, like looking at the hashtags like slam T4 vans or whatever, and then I got to the. Have you ever looked at the lowdown transporter dudes? They have like a YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. But they like are slamming all the vans and stuff, and I was like, dude. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, I'm gonna get a T4. So I started looking for them, and one popped up for like $3,500. I was like, that's good. Yeah. I'm like, that's way more affordable than the stick.
Oh, perfect. Because I mean, the T4s, they were notorious for the bad.
The auto trans. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So now it's a stick. It's white.
Oh boy.
It's a stick. It's white, but. It's super clean. I think it had like 200,000 miles on it. I drive it every day.
Change my mind. We'll see.
I'm going to ship it to you, and you're going to have to make a CKW2 kit for it.
I would love to, actually. Challenge accepted.
Nice. You heard that's on.
I would love to do it.
I've got you on video and audio saying that, so
Oh, shit.
I'll hold you to that. No,
No,
but
I'm always for any good challenge,
just like
honestly.
what
I
you
mean,
were saying about your Mark IV Jetta, that's how I feel about the van again. Or not the van, I'm sorry,
mhm.
the T4. It's slow as shit, but it's like a tank. It's super fun to drive. My son, I have an 8-year-old son. He loves that thing. He just wants to go everywhere in it. I like pick him up for school in it, and he's like, yeah. We named it Marty.
Marty, nice.
Marty, because he's so
So you
fly.
name all your cars?
Marty McFly.
You, do you name all your cars?
No, I have,
No?
well, not like human names. So like Marty, just like me and my son were like messing around, and we just came up with the name Marty for some reason, which works because, you know, Marty McFly. I'm like, oh, that's double awesome. So we named it Marty out of nowhere. I have a 79 brown diesel rabbit that I call the brown bag bunny because it looks like a, I don't know, it looks like a it looks like a 40. If a malt liquor brown bag 40 was a car, it'd be my Mark 1 rabbit. So I call that the brown bag bunny, and then like I don't always have like human names for my cars, if that you're asking, but like I'll name some of them, but not all of them. I didn't have a name for my Mark IV R32. I didn't have a
We
name for
really
that.
are related. We are related because we have. All right, my old red Mark III Jetta was Vincent the VR6, and then we have Lou the R32, right?
Oh, okay.
Then we have Frankie Lou Zorn, which is the rabbit. So his name's Frankie. He's got a nice goatee with the chin spoiler and everything, you know. Um, my mom's is Casper,
Makes sense.
because she's triple white, right? Um, the new Mark III is Ginkgo. We thought it was appropriate because it's green, you know,
Yeah.
and ginkgo. And then our wedding, we had a ginkgo plants everywhere, so we were like, oh yeah,
Nice.
you know, I think ginkgo is going to be the name. So I got the plate made for her and everything. It says
Sick.
ginkgo. And then Gus, no fuss, Gus. Because no fuss, there's no fuss. You throw all the CKW2 shit in there, and you go to a show, and there's no fuss, Gus. Um, I don't
Nice.
know.
I think with me,
And
like,
then,
I don't like try to make it a point to name my cars. I think they just work out. Some of them have
well,
names and
yeah,
some of them don't.
exactly. I mean, it's just it was a little struggle for Ginkgo, but like Gus, we knew we had to name Gus because I had to put something on the door. You know, um, what do they call it? The R. I don't know. It's just Lou the R32. It just spun
Oh,
off one day.
yeah,
I'm like,
rhymes.
hey,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll call him Lou.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess we are related.
Rad. Yeah. You're my cousin. We've already talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Oh,
Oh
dude.
man.
You got anything else you want to shout anybody out? You got any other projects besides the Jetta? Like, this isn't going to be the last time I have you on the podcast. I'll definitely make this a reoccurring event. But
Sounds good. I like it.
yeah, dude.
Um, well, you know, other than parts, there's a lot of stuff that's stuck in my head that still needs to come out. So, you know, it's just focusing at which one I could tackle faster. I mean, as far as shout outs, you know, to all our customers, I mean, honestly, thank you. You give me a reason to wake up in the morning and do stuff. So, I mean, yeah, granted, I got to go to work, but, you know, in the result, that's just work. But this stuff, as far as CKW2 goes, it's a relief. I enjoy it. I love building things. I like seeing other people's dreams come true. So, by all means, I always tell everybody if you guys ever have questions, you need anything, just reach out. I mean, I'm more than happy to answer anything. Just give me a shout. So I'm easily accessible, and I always tell everybody either if I don't answer, that means I probably shouldn't, or
Blue
I'm at
Moons.
work, or I'm under the car, or I'm welding. So one of the other, you know. But I generally get back to everybody as soon as I can. Um, you know, by all means. I had people messaging me today about the back axle flip and how the car is off kilter, and we're trying to figure out if the truck's ever been in an accident, what it is, why it's not right. Because I mean, it's the first time I ever heard of anything like that. I mean, even Kyle Busch's caddy that was in our shop. I mean, it's just no kilter issues at all. I mean, the truck ran level and great every time. So I don't know what it is. Something's not right. So But I mean, other than that, yeah. I mean, I thank everybody. I really do. Everybody's support, man. I really appreciate it. So
Well, dude, you're doing some rad stuff, man. So we want to
thank
thank
you.
you as well. The community, I'll speak for the community. We want to thank you as well. You know, you got some super rad stuff you're doing with the CKW2 stuff. And yeah, dude, just you're a legend. So just keep being legendary.
Well, thank you. I never really thought of myself that way, but you know, my wife always tells me, she says, I love that you're humble, but sometimes you're too humble. And I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but I mean, I don't know. I don't like shit getting to my head. You know what I mean? So
For sure.
I
For
don't know.
sure.
I mean, it's just keep doing what you do, and just that's that. So, but thank you. I appreciate it.
For sure, man. And thank you for being on the podcast. I really appreciate that. You're helping me get this thing off the ground too. So I really appreciate that. And yeah, man. Anytime you want to chat, you know, just hit me up and we'll do this thing.
Will do. Sounds good.
All right, Greg. Thanks again, man. I appreciate it.
Sure. Peace out, guys. Thank you.
Fuck yeah!